From Ja Morant being a role model to numerous people around the world to him promoting the wrong things to his fans, here's how Ja Morant's impact is more than just basketball. Like many other athletes, Ja's got a huge fan following, especially among the youth and the black community. Yet he doesn't seem to care about the impact his actions might have on those who look up to him. Morant, after all, entered the league as one of the most exciting prospects ever, and his playstyle is so exciting that he won over fans almost immediately. Not to mention, he's always having fun when he's out on the court with his dances and lighthearted energy, so the kids love him and would do anything to be like him. What's more, he's a successful black man in a place where racism is relatively common. So he's an inspirational figure for his fellow black brothers who hope to be just as successful as him. Even though Morant is aware that millions of people look up to him in this way, he continues to behave like a childish clown and gets into trouble frequently. And we can thank the Washington Post for telling us everything we needed to know. According to them, in July 2022, the head of security at a Memphis mall filed a police report saying that the point guard threatened him during an argument. Around the same time, he also threatened a Foot Action employee. Then a few days after that, Morant punched a 17-year-old boy during a game of pickup basketball at the athlete's house, leaving a large knot on the kid's head. What's more, the teenager told the police that Ja went back into his house and returned with a weapon. By this point, everyone started losing respect for the athlete. But instead of trying to be better, Morant decided to ruin his rep even more. On the 4th of March 2023, the point guard went live on Instagram and recorded himself waving a gun at a strip club, leaving the NBA world speechless. Adam Silver acted quickly, suspending Ja for 8 games without pay because his behavior was considered detrimental to the league. Following the incident, Ja entered a counseling program and made sure to apologize to everyone. He told ESPN's Jalen Rose that he took full responsibility for his actions while claiming that he doesn't condone any type of violence. But the damage had already been done, leaving a bunch of people disappointed, especially Shaq. While speaking on TNT on March 2023, Big Diesel called out Ja for making so many terrible decisions before saying that his actions were unacceptable. The 4-time champ then went on to talk about how it was Ja's choice to hit that live button when he was in possession of the gun. If he never did something stupid like that, then things wouldn't have escalated the way they did. Charles Barkley was on the same page as O'Neal, as he said that Morant needs to grow up and stop acting like a damn fool. If only Ja had taken their advice, because he ended up doing the opposite of what they told him to. Just 2 months after the incident on his Instagram, Ja was caught flashing a gun again. Morant was chilling with his buddy in a car, but then the athlete's friend whipped out his phone to record the moment. Sure enough, Ja could be seen waving a gun as if it was no big deal. According to Kenny the Jet Smith, since Ja made the same mistake twice, it's safe to say that there's something wrong with him rather than the people he hangs out with. And honestly, based on his actions, don't you think he's portraying himself as a wannabe gangster? This isn't ideal because gun violence is a huge issue in America, and Ja's actions only make the problem worse. The United States has long struggled with a pervasive problem, its love of firearms. According to one study from 2018, there are more guns in America than there are people. And mind you, this was right before the pandemic and protests against white supremacy, which led to a record number of guns being purchased. Then, on top of that, guns are often glamorized in movies and shows as well. Now, when you keep all of this in mind and couple it with the fact that guns are so easily accessible in the States, you can't help but feel worried about the impact Ja's actions could have. After all, in 2021, nearly 50,000 Americans died because of gun-related injuries, which amounts to over 130 people dying per day. What's even more concerning is that the Kaiser Family Foundation has found that firearms are the #1 cause of teenage deaths. And remember, the majority of Morant's fans are teenagers. What's more, Memphis has had its fair share of gun violence, such as the man who killed and wounded multiple people in September of 2022. Then, as of May of 2023, the Gun Violence Archive reported that America had experienced 225 mass shootings in 2023, which claimed the lives of 296 people. All of this happening is exactly why Morant needs to realize that he simply can't act the way he has, or else the state of this country will only get worse. While Ja is a clear representation of America's love for guns, there are a few things about him that make his owning a gun a different story. At the end of the day, he's a black celebrity who was waving the gun around recklessly in his story, so he clearly doesn't fit the visual representation of gun ownership that most Americans glamorize. Morant isn't the all-American white boy who uses guns to hunt animals or to protect his family in emergency situations. Instead, he's viewed by some as another ghetto guy or a thug. While Morant was never a thug and grew up comfortably, at the end of the day, he does have a lot of influence among the black community, including ghettos because of his skin color. Plus, there's no denying that gangs and gun violence are pretty prevalent among ghettos, so Morant's actions could only make that issue worse. But it's not just about him having a negative impact on those around him, because Morant's also putting himself in harm's way with the way he's been acting. I already talked about some of Kenny the Jet Smith's comments earlier, but I've yet to mention one of the most important things he said. Smith added that while nobody's gotten hurt so far, things might take a turn for the worse if Morant keeps up his behavior. Smith claims that the athlete might also be singled out by the real tough guys to find out if Morant is sincere or not. Shaq and Chuck agreed with him while pointing out that once you make it big, there's zero room for acting like an idiot. I mean, all of this could especially be an issue since Morant's a very famous celebrity who earns mad cash. So he'd definitely be a target for the real gangsters. And since he's a celebrity, it would be relatively easy for them to track him down too. As Shannon Sharpe said, Morant needs to stop pretending that he's hard and a thug, before adding that Morant is living the life that millions dream of, yet he wants to throw it away by being a wannabe tough guy. Sharpe went on to say that it made no sense for Morant, who's got a $200 million contract, to want people to think he's hood. Like Kenny, he straight up told Ja that he's putting himself as well as his family in harm's way and trouble for no reason at all. Something needs to change fast, and it starts with how Morant conducts himself. Ja isn't just some dude who plays ball on the side for fun. No, this guy's a borderline superstar in the biggest basketball league in the world. He's in a different stratosphere, so he has no choice but to act like a professional and be better. There's no room for such reckless and immature behavior when you're a celebrity who's got the whole world watching him. The NBA suspended him for a bunch of games in the 2024 season, and so far he hasn't had any slip-ups. But if he comes back and does something stupid again, he could be playing with fire at that point and possibly be injured or lose his life if he messes with the wrong people. Either way, he's already seen as a wannabe. And don't you think that him promoting the wrong things to his fans could have a terrible impact as the years go on? As I've told you, Ja's a fan favorite amongst kids and teens. And since even young people have access to social media, most of his fans have already seen him waving a gun around on both occasions. This is a terrible situation because the youth are incredibly impressionable and will start thinking that they can only be cool like Morant if they start getting involved in such things as soon as possible. Not to mention, we all know that there have been many young school shooters in the US, and Ja's actions could very well make that issue even worse. So, from the athlete promoting the wrong things to his fans, to him being a role model to numerous people around the world, that was how Ja Morant's impact is more than just basketball.